Hello, friends. This is Dr. John WorldPeace coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, land of enchantment, ETs, UFOs, and the atomic bomb. Today is April 24th, 2024. 04 24 24. And it is my 76th birthday, which is interesting. I'm going to start producing these YouTube videos again, which are going to be copies almost exclusively of what I'm posting on X or Twitter. You can go to Twitter and read this, or you can watch this video, which is just me reading it to you. There will be a copy of the text below, along with some other information about contributing and so forth. Friends, with the Donald Trump trials going on and the campus protests going on, chaos is coming. Not the book of Revelation, the false book of Revelation. This is all brought on by the World Human Society, specifically the United States, more specifically Joe Biden, because the biggest problem right now is Israel, the Zionist. I am not anti-Semitic. That is a thing about Jewish culture. I am anti-Zionist, which is about Israeli politics. All right, in the news, the world is on fire. Liz Cheney nukes the Supreme Court. With an urgent warning about Trump, there is still a lot we don't know about what Trump did on January 6th. And the Supreme Court may prevent us from ever knowing it. If the Supreme Court takes its time in handing down a ruling on Donald Trump's demand for absolute immunity for insurrection-related crimes, voters may not know whether Trump is a convicted criminal before deciding whether to elect him to the most powerful position in the world. That's bad enough, but there's another dimension to all this that's gone underappreciated. Such a delay could also perversely reward Trump and his allies for the extensive cover-up they implemented after the insurrection, failed by denying voter critical information about Trump's conduct on January 6, 2021. Even putting aside whether Trump's coup amounted to criminality. Keeping voters in the dark throughout the election about that conduct would represent an appalling next-level failure of accountability. Friends, what Liz Cheney is talking about regarding Trump not going to trial before the election is that we will never know the truth about January 6th. But something she did not say is that if the Supreme Court by delay prevents a Trump trial before election and Trump becomes president, he will order the Attorney General to drop the Jan 6 case against him. But what Trump will also do is to order all documents and evidence about January 6 to be destroyed along with all copies. That's what's going to happen if the Supreme Court gives him absolute immunity. For me, if this scenario plays out, America will come to a chaotic end soon after. And in that case, no one will be able to deny that God will have abandoned America. And what that means and how that would play out is too scary to contemplate. That said, we have an example of what happens when God abandons a nation. The crucifixion of Jesus in 33 CE, Common Era. The sky darkened, the earth shook, the veil in front of the Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple was torn in two, signifying that God had forever abandoned Israel. 274 CE, God allowed the Romans to raise Jerusalem and Solomon's temple on the Temple Mount, and the Romans were allowed to drive the Jews out of Israel in the first diaspora. In 579 CE, God rose up Muhammad, the progeny of Ishmael, the firstborn of Abraham, who founded the religion and nation of Islam. Then God allowed the Muslims to build the Dome of the Rock on the exact spot on the Temple Mount where the Temple of Solomon stood. And the Al-Aqsa Mosque was also built on the Temple Mount. In the first centuries of the second millennium, the Christian Crusades failed to retake Jerusalem from the Muslims. God undeniably supported the Muslim possession of Jerusalem. 4. In the 1930s and 40s, God allowed the Nazis to exterminate 6 million European Jews. In 1948, the Jews declared they were a nation within Palestine, the original Israel, and U.S. President Truman recognized Israel as a state, and every president since Truman, including Joe Biden, has supported the Zionist Holocaust in Palestine, and most recently, Joe Biden has voted against statehood for Palestine, which is against the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, guaranteeing every human a citizenship. Now we have a festering, growing rebellion on the campuses in the American universities calling out the Zionist Holocaust in Gaza and Biden's support of it. I was on the campus in the 1960s when they erupted over civil rights in the Vietnam War, which ended the presidency of Lyndon Johnson. The righteous anti-Zionists, pro-Palestinian rebellions on the American campuses are about to set America on fire. Probably equal to what was going on in the 1960s. I, Dr. John WorldPeace, JD, the independent maverick write-in candidate for President USA 2024, fully support and take over the leadership of the anti-Zionist protest and what is happening on the college campuses and the BDS movement, boycott, divest, sanction movement against the Zionists globally for their Holocaust in Gaza, Palestine, and against the Muslims, their genocide against the Muslims, their crimes against humanity regarding the Muslims. I am the self-designated representative of this movement because no one else has stepped forward to challenge the corruption of Joe Biden, and so I must. I have no organization and never will. I'm one man with one message, one focus, world peace. The veto of Palestinian statehood by the USA in the Security Council last week in essence places the God-condemned Zionists and their enablers, the USA, against the entire world human society. No one can deny that the USA's support of Zionists will destroy America and set the world human society on fire. If Jesus comes out of the sky with 1,000,000 angels to do anything, he will destroy the Zionists and the American Christians who have supported the Zionists that God forever condemned when they crucified Jesus. Let those who have eyes see, and those who have ears hear. There are two corrupt human beings leading this march to hell: Netanyahu and Joe Biden. Donald Trump becomes irrelevant in this President Biden rebuke by God. Things are heating up, folks. I expect God to undeniably insert himself, his presence, in what's going on. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't think Trump is going to survive these trials. What's going on in Gaza, the college students are going to put an end to it, the same way they put an end to the Vietnam War. Didn't happen overnight. A lot of chaos. My most vivid memory is the National Guard shooting students on campus with live rounds. You can read all about it. Been plenty written, but I was there. I wasn't active. I was an observer as I went to school. Have a good day. This is Dr. John WorldPeace, JD.